If you fly drones like this, you'll be used to chargers like this. And if you fly drones like this, you'll be used to chargers like that. Well, move over, fat boy. There's a slimmer, much prettier charger in town. Now, I absolutely love my Q200 charger. It's also got inputs in the back so that you can actually use it as a field charger as well. But the one thing you can't overcome with this is its sheer size. It's gigantic and it's heavy. And so this has just arrived from GearBest. It's called the ISDT T8 and it costs around $100 or just over £100, and it could change the way that you charge at the field. It comes packaged in a nice box, very simple, nothing really to it more than that black box. Let's have a look inside. So you get your instruction manual, quick start guide there. You get some little stickers which you can adorn all over your quadcopters. It also comes with a screen protector, and you basically peel off the backing here and stick it onto the charger, and you'll see why in a minute. The charger is really pretty, and so this is basically to stop you getting scratches on it. But there is the charger, and it's wrapped in a plastic protective bag. And there it is. Now you can see we've got a protective plastic layer on here. So if I just peel that off so we can see its true beauty. And behold, there is the T8. Now, as far as chargers go, this is probably the prettiest I've ever seen, and it's tiny. It fits in the palm of my hand. Clearly, this is ideal for a field charger because it's not going to take up a load of room, and it doesn't weigh much either. On the front, we've got our lovely big screen here, LED screen, and we've got a control button array down here as well. So you've got left, right, up and down, and a button in the middle as well. Looking around the charger, we've got an XT60 connector here. Now this is our output, and we've then got a balance connector as well. So this is where you're going to connect in the battery that you're looking to actually charge up. And then on the other side, we've got our inputs. So here we've got input which goes up to 40 volts, down as low as 12 volts. So you're going to need a 4S battery as a minimum to power this. Plug that straight into the XT connector there. And then there's also a USB port. That I believe is an output. And you can actually plug in a, for example, phone charging cable, or you can plug in one of those little 1S USB charging converters there. Anything you want, basically. Then there's also a computer port. I believe that's for firmware updates and various elements. I think that's the only big downside of this. I don't believe the firmware updates are via USB. I think you need a special cable to update it, which is a bit of a shame. But anyway, the charger is really pretty. On the back, there's nothing there except for a small specification plate. And then on the rear of it, we've got a big cooling fan as well, and you'll hear that when we power it up. So for this demo, I'm actually going to be using one of my 1300 mAh 4S graphene batteries. This is a lithium polymer, and the inputs seem to vary on this. I think it supports essentially anything as long as it's a DC power input. And it's important to note that there is no AC power input option into this. So if you did want to use some sort of AC power, you'd need to use an AC to DC converter. So when I plug this in, I think we're going to be overwhelmed by the sound of the fan warming up. So here goes. It sounds like a hairdryer. So it does that initial power up and then it drops right back down. So that's our lithium polymer input. In terms of outputs, it supports lots of different types of battery, including the new high voltage LiPos. So no need to worry about compatibility with charging the batteries that you use regularly. So with this system now powered up, we can press and hold the button in the middle, and that takes us to our system settings where we can look at various options. Now it doesn't have a touchscreen, this, unfortunately, so you do need to use the little navigation panel here, but it's got some sound effects as well. You've got lots of things you can alter here, including the backlight, the completion tone, the volume, system self-check as well, system information. Firmware sharing, I believe, is if you have more than one of these and it can update other ones. And language. So let's have a look at system information. We've got our firmware versions, hardware revision, etc. So a few options there. We'll leave that menu by going to back. So this is the core screen, and it's not going to tell us a lot until we plug in another battery. I love the pulsing light up at the top here as well. You'll notice the ISDT T8 pulsing on and off. So what we'll do now is basically plug in some batteries to actually have a go at charging and see what happens. So it is an XT60 connector. Now clearly your smaller batteries are not going to be using an XT60 connector. For example, I've got some 1S batteries here, and they have these tiny little JST style connectors. But what I've got here is one of those multi-charging cables. So what I can do is plug all my 1S batteries into this multi-cable, like this. Now this multi-cable does have the metallic bullet connectors on the end, but what I've done is made up a very simple cable here, which is just an XT60 that goes to the gold bullet connector females. So what I can now do is plug any of my gold bullet type charging cables into that, and then plug the other end directly into the charger, like that. What I can then also do is plug in my balance cable. Now this balance port actually caters for all different sizes of balance connector. It doesn't look like it, but you basically start from the left hand side. So in the case of this one, where this balance connector is obviously only for a 3S, you plug that in on the left hand side and then it connects in absolutely fine. So with that now plugged in, you can see that the screen is now registering our voltage of the cells. And I can also use that same little conversion cable with any of the other charging cables I've got. For example, I've got one here for an EC2 connector, and I can also use that with the gold bullet conversion cable I've made. So you can see our different voltages there. Now, if we press the up or down button, it takes us to some various other statistics. So we've got working information here. It shows the voltage in, so 14.8, which of course is our source battery here. The current temperature as well, which is 24 centigrade, and then also some other stats here. Now apparently this is to show how many batteries we've charged in the lifetime of the charger, so they don't really make a lot of sense right now. We'll press back. Now if we press the button in the middle, that takes us to the actual charging configuration screen. You can see here battery type, we can select from a number of different types of battery. I'm obviously going to set that to lithium polymer because that's what we're charging. Cell voltage allows you to define what voltage it charges cells up to. Now some batteries you may not want to fully charge, and perhaps to look after them a little bit more, and so you can set it lower, but I'm going to set it to 4.2, which is our average cell charge that we want to aim for. You can see it's automatically actually set the cell count to 3S. Now if I set that to anything else, I don't think it will actually charge, but we'll have a look. So I'll set it to 4S and let's see what happens. The current, now these batteries are only 750 milliamps, so I'm going to set the current to 7. Now you'll notice that there are no half decimals here, so I can't set it to 0.75. Instead, you have to choose the nearest to it. So to look after my cells, I'm going to round it down rather than rounding up, and I'm going to go for 0.7. Then you've got task, and you've got charge, discharge, and storage. Now it will natively do a balanced charge if you plug in the balance connector, so we're going to leave it on charge. And then press start, and I'm expecting that to kick the fan in, so be prepared. Okay, well that's a surprise. The fan hasn't kicked in, but I expect that it probably will as the unit starts to get warm. Of course, it's going to generate more heat when it's discharging than charging, so maybe for a small task like these little 1S LiPos, it might not stress it too much. So this is the main charging screen now. At the top we can see the ampage that it's currently charging the batteries at. You can see it's kind of fluctuating a little bit there. Below that you can see we're charging a LiPo, and you'll notice it's gone to 3S and we set it to 4S. The charger is intelligent and has automatically set that down to the correct value for us, which is good. Next we've got the voltage, and that's the total voltage of the battery. Now we're charging 3 LiPos here, so we'll expect the charger to finish when that hits 12.6. We've then got milliamps, and that's how many milliamps have been basically loaded into the battery. At the moment it's at 15 milliamps, and obviously that will step up until the battery cells hit their designated end voltage. And then we've got a timer, so how long did it take to charge? And what's nice is that you can also see in live real time the voltage of each cell that you're charging. Now obviously I'm charging 3 separate batteries here, but it would be exactly the same story if we connected in a single 3S battery as well. So just whilst that's going and charging, it's worth also adding that it has got short current protection, it's got overload protection, over voltage protection, overheating, and even an anti-spark function. I don't even really know what that is, but it's got it. Now it also supports BATGO, which is a new technology in battery intelligence. I don't have any BATGO batteries at the moment, but I think they will become more popular in the marketplace as they become cheaper. But it's kind of an intelligent information exchange between batteries and devices to make the batteries last longer, essentially. Another nice feature also is if I press down on the control here, you've got cell impedance statistics as well. So that helps you to look at the health of your batteries. Press down again and we go back to the working information screen, which shows us the input in watts as well. Temperature, which you can now see has increased to 38 degrees centigrade internally. And also, as I said, the watt hours or the wattage hours are now incrementing as well. And that will increment basically every time you charge your battery. And it's really just to show you how much use you've had out of the charger. Now, many cheap batteries that come with some drones don't have a balanced connector. This one actually does. This is a 2S battery, but I'm going to pretend it hasn't. I've plugged my conversion cable straight into it. I'm not going to plug the balance connector into the charger. So I'll plug my cable into the charger. Now, of course, it doesn't recognize the cells because it can't identify them individually without that balance port connected. But I can still set up the charger and start it. Now, this is a 450 milliamp battery and it's a 2S, so I've got that all set up appropriately. When I go and click start, it does give me a warning. You sure you want to charge this without the balance port? I'm going to say yes. And it then carries on and charges it anyway. Now, it's really important if you're not going to use a balance connector to make sure you get the cell count correct. And the reason is because it can't identify the individual cells, you need to tell the charger how many it has. So overall, this is a really nice charger. It's really well made, well manufactured, and it feels really good quality. Plus for the price, about just below £100, I don't think that's too bad at all. I think it's a shame it doesn't have touchscreen to get rid of this little control pad. The other problem, or the other dislike that I have, is that you can't charge without the main power supply connected. In other words, it won't charge with just the balance connectors alone, which is, I think, a shame because sometimes it's nice to not have to lug around conversion cables to convert from an XT60 to something down as small as these 1S battery connectors. But still, conversion cable that you can easily make up is cheap and easy, and they don't weigh much either. So whilst it won't replace my Q200 at home, it's certainly going to come with me to the field, and it's definitely going to extend how much tiny whooping we can do on a daily basis. So yeah, overall a very nice charger. Links to this product are in the video description, and if you order now, it may arrive before Christmas. Please be sure to drop a comment below with your thoughts, give us a thumbs up, and of course click subscribe. Thanks very much for watching.